Hello, good morning, afternoon, good day. Welcome back to Painting Classic Cars, where it's the 21st of June and summer's now starting to make an appearance. A little run through of what we've been up to this week. We haven't done a huge amount of the large projects really this week. We've had quite a few small bits and pieces in. We've had a Jaguar XKR in, very original car, low mileage. It really is in nice condition and the customer's really keen to keep it as original as possible. But there's a big stone chip right in the front corner of the bonnet. So we've done a localised spot prime repair there. And then we've kept the colour real tight down into this corner. Real nice little blend in there. So there's no colour discrepancy between the wings and the bonnet because the colour's kept really low. And then a uniform clear coat of the whole bonnet. So that's all done, ready to go out now. The Maserati is nearing completion with us. It didn't come down as a complete car, so it won't be going back as one. We're fitting some trim to it now before it goes over to Just Historic Cars in St Leonard's, who are going to take care of the mechanical refit with the suspension, fuel lines, brakes, etc. TVR, we've yet to get underway with that, but we've also had this lovely M5 BMW in for front wing and bonnet repairs, along with a Porsche 928 S4, which had a dent just below the fuel filler cap. So that's been repaired, paint blend again into the rear quarter panel here. And the little Mark 1 Fiesta, there's been quite a bit going on with that. All inner wing repairs are now done. The flanges onto the front panel are remade, and the front panel is on. So hopefully the front wings will be on towards the end of this coming week as well. Another step closer to paint. A little bit behind the times at the minute, but we have now used Novol's new Epoxy hybrid primer for the first time. We've been using their standard acrylic primer for quite some time now, and last year they brought out this hybrid Epoxy primer, which now that we've had a chance to use it is again just another phenomenal product from Novol. It's one core material which you mix in 3 different ways to get 3 different end products. So you can mix it in the anti-corrosive base coat, which replaces or works alongside their original epoxy primer, the yellow stuff that we've talked about before. So you can mix in for anti-corrosive, or you can mix a different hardener in which gives an isolating wet on wet property. And the real game changer, I suppose, is you can also mix it now as a high build primer. This means you get an epoxy formulated primer as opposed to an acrylic primer. Now, without going into all the different technicalities of that, the benefit is epoxy, basically in one word. Epoxy chemically bonds and hermetically seals all materials, so it's non-hygroscopic. All other primers, acrylic primers, etc., will draw in moisture, and epoxy won't. So if you have anti-corrosive base layers in epoxy and a primer in epoxy, it really does give you the ultimate protection against any moisture, dampness, contaminants in all of your layers. So again, fantastic product in from Novol. Now, we're outside in the sun, just really because we've got this little project, possibly. Kind of a question mark whether to build it or bin it. It's quite sad, really. This is a 1975 Citroen DS23 Pallas. So the very, very last of them, and the very, very top of the range. The best you could buy at the time. And it's a factory right-hand drive car, which is exceptionally rare. Most were left-hand drive. This was bought by the customer in 2018, and it was bought from a dealer who was quite some distance away. A lot of phone conversation was had, and the customer wanted a car that was cosmetically untidy but structurally sound. A running driving car that would pass a UK MOT and be roadworthy, needing refreshing, some tidying up, some trim work, some paint work. And after a week of phone conversations, it was agreed off the back of the photographs sent that the customer would buy the car on the dealer's assurances that it was structurally sound. A recovery driver was taken up to collect the vehicle and bring it some 300 miles back down to the owner. And even on site, the recovery driver realised that something was wrong and phoned the owner and said, "Are you sure you want this? Because I'm standing outside the car and I can see inside the car through the floor." The owner straight away, or the new owner, sorry, straight away got on the phone to the dealer, who was not interested in the slightest, and said it was your fault, you should have come and seen it in person. Now, there was no sort of grey area here. The car was nowhere near as described, and it all got rather messy, to say the very least. Long story short, it went through several court proceedings. The owner of the car got the purchase price back, but obviously by that time the car was down in the south of England, and the seller was in, I can't remember exactly where, but some 300 miles away. The court order was a return of all funds, and the vehicle would then be ready for the vendor to collect, as it was therefore back in their possession. The court cases and so on were so protracted that it wasn't all settled until 2021, and the car has remained down at our workshop here, where the vendor has never made any attempts to contact, correspond or collect, and a torts notice is now being carried out, which means that the vehicle is the legal possession of the would-be owner, had they not gone through the court proceedings. So they're now left with the question mark of what do we do with it, as it's sat here now for 4 or 5 years, and the condition was poor, to say the very least, to begin with. But through legal proceedings, all the time legal proceedings are being carried out, you cannot do anything with the car. So it has sat all this time and deteriorated further, as you can see in these video clips here. It really is in a sad state. The owner very much wanted one of these. They have a really high value here in the UK now, but you have to seriously question the value in doing the car, as everywhere you look is so much corrosion. It was running and driving. It's not too keen to start now. It just cranks over. It's just the state of the body is a challenge, to say the very least, and would be massively offset by the value of the car when it's completed. So yeah, we're kind of in discussions now with the owner as to where they want to go and what do they want to do with the car. I mean, ultimately we're viewing it as it's going to end up a parts car, because there's just so much structural corrosion in it. But we thought it might be a nice little insight, so you can see some of the things that we have, the challenges we have, and how you have to be pragmatic, and not everything is a viable project. Sometimes the head has to rule the heart. So that's it. It's quite a short video this week. We will do some more next week. We will be heavily into the TVR Cigaris next week, so there'll be plenty to talk about there, I'm sure. So if you like what you're watching, please hit subscribe and tune in for more.